This is Steven Diego, and you're tuned in to Breaking Down the Breakdown. On today's episode, we have Diana talk about her weight loss journey and how her self-love kept her afloat throughout all the adversities. Hello guys, what's up? It's me again, like I always say. All right, so today I actually, you know what, this whole self-love thing, I realized it was way too short last time. And I loved you, Stephanie. Stephanie was an amazing guest last week, talking about her journey with it. And it was a really nice take on the whole, wow, what does self-love look like for somebody who's always loved themselves? Well, being that majority of us aren't like that. Not that this person didn't love herself. It's just that I was going to talk about myself, but then a really good friend of mine was like, hey, I saw your thing on self-love and I want to share my journey. And I was like, you know what? That's amazing because I always talk about myself. So we have the super awesome Diana joining us today. Woo! Hello.
Yay.
Hey.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Dr. Diana. I can't say the fucking name.
Dr. Diana. Oh, God.
I
yeah, all right.
Fox might be like, you used
Copyright.
this name, right? Oh, I don't want that. Oh my God. So Diana and I have known each other for a really long time.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah.
How long it's been.
Oh my God. Well,
no, we're old folks now.
What was it? Was it JYP we did, or was it
I met you
SM?
on a bus. It was JYP. I met you on a bus in probably 2009. No, 2009, like you said.
Yeah.
In Toronto, on the way to a JYP audition with my best friend at the time, and then my other friend, our mutual friend, still, Pat. Yeah, and I remember you sitting at the back of the bus, and we just struck up a conversation, and we're like, "Are you going to the JYP audition?"
Oh my God, that was quite the fucking. Oh my God, I cannot believe
it was great.
It was fun though. I'm so glad I met you guys. Honestly,
yeah.
To think that we meet
ago.
at the back of a bus and we still be friends to this day, like that is insane.
I know. Well, it's cool. I've saw your journey, so I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. And you know what? Same here. And this is why. This is why it's important that you were able to get on this. And I'm so happy that you actually was down for this because I felt like a lot of people can relate to what you went through. And, I say that with almost every guest, but that's why they're on the show. Because
exactly, because it's relatable.
But at the same time, that is why I feel like everyone's story is relatable to somebody out there, right? So
exactly. Yep.
There's that. But tell us about yourself, Dee. Who are you?
I feel like, oh God, this is not a work interview, so I shouldn't go into
it's
my
orientation.
Yeah, literally. Who am I? I'm Diana. My pronouns are she, her. I would identify as a versatile, moon loving, witchy marijuana girl.
I guess. I love it. I love it.
And I went to school when I met you, I was in school for East Asian studies, so I was learning about Korean culture and then the language and stuff. Right. But I went to school for social work, so that's kind of like my education. Yeah. But outside of that, outside of social work, I work in law, so I work in real estate law right now.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a business that needs social workers, so I really like to
true, right.
work in that industry and help people as much as I can. Yeah. That's me. I don't know.
I love it. You know what? Yeah. And it's I find that majority of the time when people go through something, or people that have been through, it's kind of weird. I don't want to put us in a stereotype or a little box, but I noticed that it's usually people who work with the public who ends up, or sorry, rather people who had gone through something, I wouldn't say traumatic, but something definitely life-changing, who always end up working in a public sector. Because I feel like we know how people actually feel, or we know what it's like to go through it, that it's
exactly.
you
You want to
know,
help people kind of
yeah.
get through what you went through, for
Oh
sure. Yeah,
goodness. Yeah, that's
absolutely.
yeah, I just noticed that, I just realized that. But we're not talking about other people today. We are talking
I
about
know.
you.
I was gonna be like, oh, I need to like bring up why I'm on the show. So another part of me, I guess, is well, the reason I reached out was because I have a unique journey of living most of my life as a child and adult, very overweight, very, very, very overweight, to the
Right.
point where I was almost 500 pounds, up about until 3 years ago, I would say.
Oh my goodness.
Um, yeah, so I was almost 500 pounds at my most. And then I lost a dramatic amount of weight, almost about 270 pounds. So that's the
Yeah,
reason why I wanted to
that.
reach out and talk about it.
Oh, all right. She just went right in, guys. She went for the jugular. She just,
Oh yeah,
let's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
right
yeah.
there. Let's just cut to the goddamn chase.
You
Mm.
need those like horns or whatever.
Right? Like I'm like dancing around it. I'm like, yeah,
No,
but
I gotta be
thank you.
proud of it.
I'm glad that you're proud of it. And you know what? That's
Yeah.
another kind of reason why I really wanted to talk about it, just to see where you're at mindset wise with that. But we'll get to that later.
Yes.
But yeah, so let's let's start this off. I mean, we are talking about self-love, right?
Yeah.
And you know, from your lens,
Mm.
I just want to be able, or I want our listeners, our audiences, our viewers to kind of be able to see it through your lenses, right? Like growing
Hmm.
up as a child, were you always, on the heavy side, or were you like, one of those kids that were just kind of like, oh, whatever, like I'm
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Did I notice it? Like, what I'm hearing is like, did I have an awareness about like whether I was a larger girl, or
Right.
did
Or
I
like or
live
did
without like,
people, yeah, or did
right?
people even categorize you as a large
Right. They
girl?
definitely did. Yeah, they
Okay.
definitely did. So I was categorized as a large person since like
Hmm.
very young. Like I was a chubby baby. I mean, well, I guess I was more average baby. And I would say I was average up until like maybe grade one or grade two. But from about there on, I gained weight, and it was noticeable that I was a large kid. Yeah, so from a very young age, I lived with the awareness that I was different. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, to be aware at such a young age, I feel like, it's both a blessing and a curse.
Oh,
Because
100%.
yeah, like because I find that, like with my awareness with certain things, it was like it made me wish that I didn't even realize it, because knowing
Yeah,
it really fucking hurts. But in the back of
yeah.
my head, it was like, well, holy shit. Well, now that I know it, I can kind of like, like be stronger as a
Yeah, you
person,
can
right?
kind of control it. You can figure it out, and like why it makes you feel the way it does if you are aware of that. So I try and take that as a blessing
Right.
instead of feeling frustrated with that awareness. But I've definitely comes with some anxiety,
I
that
was
type of
gonna
awareness.
say,
I was
I
gonna
was,
say, yeah, that's kind of the transfer, is that from a young age I had a very high awareness, which also means my anxiety started at quite a young age.
yeah.
And I'm a Gemini, as I say. I have a me and my best friend make fun of this all the time. We're both Geminis, and we jokingly always go, well, I famously said one time, non-jokingly, unironically, as a feminist and as a Gemini, that I went in a rant. Anyways, uh,
Oh, the best
oh
of both worlds, I see.
yeah, I was just saying, as a Gemini, we like to overthink quite a bit.
Right.
So I'm prone to anxiety, and always have been, but particularly around that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, like, growing up with this sort of awareness, I mean, were you able to speak to your parents about how you felt?
Yeah, my mom was overweight. So my mom was really overweight, actually, not as a young. Well, I mean, sure, as a teenager, but in her young adulthood, she was quite average. But she had 4 children and 4 C-sections. So that really fucked with her body.
For
Excuse my
sure.
language. Can I swear on this?
Yes, you can fucking swear on this shit. You can use
Okay,
any
good.
fucking language you want.
Great. Um, yeah, so she was quite overweight. So it was actually something that I could talk to her about, but it was a complicated relationship because as a child,
Oh, you muted yourself by accident, girl.
as a child, a lot of control over like my
Right.
eating habits and that kind of stuff. So it was definitely a large lesson to kind of reconcile my resentment towards my upbringing and my parents and my relationship with food, because a lot of that was influenced by parenthood and what I
Oh,
was
for
taught
sure.
and that kind of stuff, right? So yeah, it's an interesting journey going through that. A lot of stuff that you don't realize
Yeah.
uh, gets affected by it, but yeah.
It's true. You know what? And it's funny because for a lot of us, especially if we don't have kids, we don't fully understand what that
Yeah.
does to us. Like like how we're brought up. We don't
Hmm.
actually, or unless we've gone through something that really fucked with us, we never
Hmm.
actually realize how huge our upbringing plays a part in who we become as a
Absolutely.
person, right? We always, we always
Absolutely.
just think, well, if we're nice and we bring up good, they'll hold good values and shit like that. But it goes beyond that, right?
It's so much larger than that. Like, and it's so much more complicated too. It's not so
Yes.
black and white. Like you can be I talk to my partner about this all the time, where like it's just so surprising where sometimes, like for example, like somebody who would be a part of the queer community could also be a racist, like that kind
Yes.
of like situation. So we have conversation about that a lot, where just because somebody was raised with certain good morals and values doesn't mean that there aren't other parts of their personality or their belief system that is not problematic or
Oh,
ignorant
for sure.
or a shortcoming of theirs or whatever. Yeah.
Right. And it's funny you say that because that is part of the awareness that I kind of went through, right? Like honestly, going to
Hmm.
university and like, actually studying sociology and having my
Yeah.
whole paper on, public space and all that stuff. And it's when I started to realize I was racist.
Yeah.
And it was a really hard pill to swallow,
Yeah.
but it's one of those things where the whole awareness thing kicks in where you're like, I wish I never knew that about myself and kept
Oh,
living the life I
100%.
lived. And then you realize, no, it's time to fucking, you know, just
Change.
exactly like really
Yeah.
break down, unlearn all of those things,
Yeah.
wear that on my
100%.
sleeve. Like when people ask me, like talk about racism, I always say like, I'm not shy about it because it's something that I had done for at least 27, 28 years of my life. I
Yeah.
thought I
Yeah.
was okay. I thought there was a pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyways, we'll talk about that another day. Yeah, that's a huge thing. But
Yeah.
my what I wanted to go back to was, so growing
Hmm.
up,
Hmm.
your parents tend to kind of like control the way you eat because of your weight, right?
Control or not control. It was
Oh.
actually, yeah. So it was actually a lack of control and a lack of self-discipline that I had resentment towards.
Do you
And not just like with my diet. Yeah.
sorry, do you feel like a part of you maybe like did you feel like maybe they should have kind of gave you like, hey, okay, we're gonna like structure something for you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think they tried their best. Like I really
Right.
do think that they did. Because even so I have 2 mothers. I grew up with 2 mothers.
Okay.
And they both struggled with mental health as well. So they were going through a lot of things at the same time.
Mhm.
But I was pretty emotionally independent from a young age because of that.
Mhm.
So I I was a very independent personality, which was hard to tell what to do. And my mom like hates like the idea of any of her kids disliking her. So
Oh
it was
no.
like a really tough situation because I can say now, like I wish my mom would have been like harder on me. But the entire reason I lived with my mom was because I was scared of my dad being too hard on me.
Oh my god.
So it was just like I can say that now, but as a kid, like that was
hard.
I loved it. I had independence a lot of the time. So yeah.
That's a hard thing to kind of like come into, to kind of like realize it's like one small thing could have changed the course of your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But knowing you, D, like I feel like I feel like you wouldn't have wanted anything to change.
No, exactly. People ask me that all
are.
the time.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm just like, no regret. Like everything that has happened to me has happened to me for a reason. And it was fucking hard. Like so many times. Like so many times I tried to give up and wanted to give up and like couldn't do it anymore. And I'm just like really happy that even though it was that hard that it happened, because that means that I am who I am today. So
yeah, honestly, I remember the very when I met you guys and you were so fucking friendly. Like it was like, it was so rare because like,
to be fair, you were really cute. In university, you were super cute and you could sing. So
I'm dead. Well, thanks. I never thought I was a wreck. I was just so nervous. I was just so glad you were talking so much because Lucille was kind of shy and Pat was pretty quiet. So you were just kind of
talker.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this girl's awesome. Oh my god. And it
was I was happy. You were similar. I could tell that you were similar. Yeah.
I didn't like to talk, right?
Yeah.
But the funniest thing for me is and I guess it's foolish for a person to kind of, how do I say this, to assume that just because somebody isn't within, I'm gonna air quote like the norm in terms of body type, that they are, they have low self-esteem or they don't love themselves, right? Because actually the very first thing that struck me about you was that, oh my god, like she fucking like she's just having the best time of her motherfucking life and I want to be like her, and that was the impression I got of you. Like you just you knew you were cute, you knew you were fat, you knew like you just knew what you wanted, you knew how to have fun, and it was like that was so refreshing.
That's right? That makes me so happy to hear, actually, because those are some of the darkest years of my life.
I never would have fucking guessed. What?
No. Yeah, like I dropped out of university when we met each other. So I left after like my second year, I think. That was like a super hard year for me. And people have said that to me in the past, like when they meet me, like they think I'm really confident and I'm very like self-assured and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting to me because like I had the worst social anxiety like ever in my entire life at that time, and I still made that impression. So like, good on me, I guess.
Yeah, what? I wish. Holy crap! Good for you.
No, I'm glad. Yeah. Well, I was also with my friends too, right? Like I had come from a really tough high school situation, and friends has been like a pretty like touchy subject for me for most of my life. I'm not going to go into too many details, but in high school, a rumor had started, which I was ostracized because of. And so like I was completely alone for my grade 11 year at my high school that I was at. I didn't have any friends. My friends that I had abandoned me. And I couldn't really communicate with them. They wouldn't communicate with me. So I was in a point when I met you that I was really like grateful for friendship and for anybody who wanted to spend any amount of time with me. Yeah. So I was just, honestly, I think I was probably just enlightened by this idea that somebody wanted to hang out with me and like be my friend. So I was probably just like super happy to be around people who wanted to be around me. But
that to me is an eye opener because we really didn't, it's true. We should never assume how a person feels or how a person is like, right? We don't know what they've been through. And at the same, the same way.
There you go. That's like a live lesson right there. We just learned.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, oh my God, what? And, I mean, tying into self-love, how were you able to stay afloat? Because you know what, I will say this, like high school wasn't a great time for me either. Like but
Yeah.
on the contrary though, like that was all my doing. Like what I said before, like I
Yeah.
wasn't the
Right.
best person growing up. I really wasn't.
Yeah.
I did some
Yeah.
things, said some things, and
Oh, I didn't
victimized
make good
myself.
choices either. Oh, I did the same thing. Oh, we all
Okay.
did. Don't
Oh
worry.
boy. All right. Yeah. So like,
Yeah.
and for me, there were times where, I talked about, suicide, and like, just because I really just felt like I did not feel like I deserved to be around.
Yeah, 100%.
And it was like, so like, did you ever go through something similar like that? And how were you able to stay afloat? Because I went to the hospital twice
Yeah.
for these things, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just kind of want to see it from your lens. Like, how were you able to
Yeah.
navigate through life after that?
Yeah. Well, the first time that something like that serious that happened for me was actually when I was in grade 8. So I was very
Oh
young.
my goodness.
Yeah, and I had like a very obsessive personality at that time, and I was like very obsessed about this boy in my class, and to the point where I fixated on the fact that he wouldn't talk to me or pay attention to me at all, and I just like I was so it was I knew it was about my weight, right? Like, so you're at that
Right.
age and you're just like, even if it wasn't, like,
You would
that's
think,
all I could think it could
yeah.
be, right? Because and tying into that, and your other question about self love is that the one thing I am very grateful about with my mother is that she taught me always to love myself.
Right.
So in that instance, the only thing I could think of it was because I was fat, because everything about me other than that was perfect. Right? Like in the eyes of like a eighth grader, it's like who's like confident, like has
Yeah,
a has learned, loves themselves in their personality and who they are in
of
their heart,
course.
right? Um, all I could think of is like, well, he doesn't like me because I'm fat, and then it goes into like the depression of like, well, that's not something I can change like immediately, right? I'm in an eighth
Yeah.
grade, I have no control over my life really at that point in my life. So yeah, so that's how I kind of navigated through that. Is that every time I had a situation like that, I would think about those lessons that I learned from my mom. And every time when I was young and noticing how people would look at her because she was really overweight and make fun of her, like in the malls, like teenagers would always like make comments about her and like
Oh
point at
my
her and stuff.
God. Yeah,
And like I would always notice it because I was so like anxious and aware of
of
that.
course.
But she would never notice it. Like, and I got so annoyed about it because I was like, how can you not see that like people are like ridicule? Oh my God, ridicule. Oh my God, I can't say it. That word,
That
criticizing you.
word.
There, let's do that one. Criticizing you like everywhere you go. How can you see that? And she would just tell me, she's like, I don't care, Diana. Like, I love myself. It doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what they're looking at, like, or that they're pointing. Like, I don't see it because it doesn't matter. And I
Right.
love myself, and that's what matters. And so I just like really tried to remember that all of the time, every time, even in those deep dark
Man.
times, and even as an adult now, when I struggle with like insecurities and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, that is something I did not have. I will save that for
I
part three, guys.
it like yeah. I mean, it's a complicated relationship, right? So it's not like I've every moment of my life have I been happy with who I am,
Of
or
course.
like been secure or confident in how I look. But I never let anybody else make me think that I wasn't worth what I wanted or what I knew I deserved as a human being. No matter how many times they made me feel like shit in high school or like beat me down or, tried to put their feelings on me and make me
Right.
responsible for them and
Right.
manipulating me, like all of that shit that happens in high school. No matter how much that happened to me, I didn't let it make me think that I wasn't a good person.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I
That
think
is,
that's the only way I survived, right? Like, I think
but
if
like
I had
that,
given
like
into that.
to have that kind of mindset at such a young age is so rare.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's funny, like, I'm seeing a pattern here in the sense that, like, I know you had your insecurities as such, but like with what Steph said last episode, like
Mhm.
the way that her parents brought her up is exactly why she loved herself and felt
Yeah.
like she had no issues with herself whatsoever, regardless of what happened.
Yeah.
I love you guys. I love you, my parents, but you kind of weren't there. I will get to
There,
that next
every
time.
you're gonna say that like so much. That's in the
Yeah.
next
This is
episode.
for the next episode where I decipher what my parents had done or didn't do.
Well,
Anyway,
that's going to be the theme of the whole podcast. It's going to end up just being, this whole lesson on how parenting is so important.
exactly. Honestly,
Yeah.
amazing. You know what? Thank you for creating that for me, Dee. But I
You're
do want to
welcome.
come back to you and
Yes.
knowing how you survived your adolescent years and even during your dark times in university,
Mm.
I guess, that answers a lot of the questions for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where, it doesn't matter how dark it got, you knew that you had your back because you wanted things for yourself. You loved yourself in some
Yeah.
ways, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
My question now is, did other people affect your decision to make you want to lose all that weight?
That's a good question.
Right, because a lot of us we will assume like like it's a health thing, or like for us sometimes like, well, I just want to look, like I want to set a goal for myself, right? But a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
of times we don't actually realize that some people are kind of hiding the real reason. Like sometimes we're affected by how people view us, and it gets to our psyche, it gets to our ego, it gets to our self-conscious, and it's just kind of like like, well, maybe if I did this, these people would stop saying these things about me. Maybe if I did this person would find me more attractive. And it's for me, it's just I just want to know, like, especially
Yeah.
coming from somebody who practices self-love,
Mm-hmm.
did whatever people's opinions of you affect your decision on this?
Right. Yeah. So now at 270 pounds less, I would definitely say that a part of my decision making was definitely fueled by all of that rhetoric my whole life, from everyone in my life, from media, from even from my own mind, like a lot of the time from my own perception of my experiences, and that pressure I put on myself from those experiences. So all of that rhetoric, of course, is going to fuel a portion of anyone's decision to lose weight or change their lifestyle or whatever. And if somebody says that it doesn't in any way, then they're not doing the work to figure out what's going on.
That's true.
They're blind. They have a blind spot if that's the
Right.
case. I really do believe that. Because if you think that there's nothing that can change about you yet, then you're not, you're blind. You're not aware if that's the case. So anyways, so yes, there's always a portion of that fuels it. But I think that people in my life would tell you that I was always resistant to that's the theme as well. I'm very independent. I don't like to be told what to do.
Right.
So that's it. I don't like to be told what to do. So the more people tell me what they think I should be doing, the more I want to say, fuck off.
Yep.
I'll figure it out in my own time, And it was also like in the back of my head, I was always like, I will lose weight eventually. Like it will happen. But to be honest, Stephen, I always said to myself, I was like, if I need to eat 3 donuts so I don't kill myself this week, I'm going to eat 3 donuts.
Yeah.
And if that makes me gain 5 pounds, then okay, I'll die in 20 years because I ate 3 donuts, but tonight I'm alive, and I'm alive because I ate a donut, So
that
for
so
me,
true.
all of those years, like that kept me alive. And it was like, I have so much other shit I need to deal with in my life. I need to work out my depression. I need to work out my anxiety. I got to work out like all this shit that happened to me as a kid. And once I've got all that figured out and I've got a great foundation where I'm strong and I'm stable and I have my head clear, then I can work on fixing what I know needs to be changed, which is my lifestyle and my health choices and that kind of stuff. Because we're not, people who are overweight are not dumb to that. We know, we get it, you know, like we know, but it doesn't happen until you're ready. And it was never going to happen until I was ready to do it on my own time when I was ready to fucking do it. So part of me, yes, of course, the opinions and stuff was a part of my decision. And of course, a part of myself wanted to lose the weight to wear the clothes I never got to wear and to date people that I thought would have never wanted to date me when I was 500 pounds. And so, of course, I had all of those like idealizations as well. But for the main part, I was just tired of not being able to do what I wanted to do. And my body was stopping me from doing that. And I was ready to make the change. So all of those things came together. And I committed. And it was like a light switch for me, really. Once I make a decision about something, it takes me like a million years to make the decision. Yeah. But once I do, I'm full steam ahead. And yeah, so yeah.
Yeah, that was
definitely
great.
Plays a part, but yeah.
I'd give you a standing ovation for what you just said, but I'm not wearing any pants. So, you know, we're on video right now. So like, I don't have
Same. Right? I was like, I got a shirt on. That's all I need to wear.
That's about it. Yeah. I'm in my comfy chair, you know, like it's almost 10. This is why we're friends. Oh my God. Literally. But no, honestly, you touched up on so many great points because a lot of people come to me and tell me things like, oh, help me, you know, with my fitness stuff, like help me reach this goal. And I always say to them, like, but do you even really want to do it? And, you know, it sounds like, it sounds almost condescending. It sounds like, you know, because I don't believe them. It's not about that. It's because it's true what you said. It has to be at your own time. It doesn't even matter what it is. It really has to be at your own time. You can try to force somebody to put them on a program to do something. If they feel like they're not ready for that, that's
not going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And then
100%.
It's going to be some added anxiety and depression because they feel like they've let themselves down now. And then it's going to deter them from trying again. Right?
I always say that, Stephen, to people who ask me about like my weight loss and stuff and like how I did it. My answer is always like, listen, you just have to decide that it's what you're doing and you're not going to fucking like it for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, that's what I said. I'm like, okay, you're just going to have to not like food for like, you're just going to have to not have food be the reason for your happiness for a year. Like you just have to, there's no way around it. There's no excuse. There's no middle ground. There's no a little bit of this, but not so much of that. It's like, no, you just have to make the decision.
I completely agree. Like, you know, people say like, oh my God, you did this in 3 weeks. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh my God, that's so fast. How did you do it? And I tell them, and then they're like, no. You know, like when they realize the things that I eat, like I cut out everything. The only thing I ate for 3 weeks were steamed cauliflowers, steamed broccoli, steamed asparagus, boiled eggs, steamed chicken and fish, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Peppers and herbs, no salt.
And they're like, I don't like any of that. And it's like,
yeah. And then they're like, well,
don't
you asked me how I did it. Right. It's exactly it. You really want to make that change, you're going to do it.
And you're not going to like it. And that's why it's hard to make that change.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like simplifying it, obviously. But, and obviously it took me like fucking 20 years to make that decision. So I get not being ready to make the decision. But it's very true. It's like, do you really want to do this? Like, are you really committed to making this change? And if you're not, then you need to get some help and you need to talk to some people to figure out why, like figure out what's going on. Yeah.
I remember when you first kind of like posted a photo of your like change, and everyone was just like, oh my God, you know? And it was like,
Yeah.
I didn't know what to be happy about. The fact
Yeah.
that, you know, like you lost all this weight, or
Mm.
the fact that you were so committed to doing it, you
Yeah.
know? And it was one of those
Yeah.
things where it's like, oh my God, congratulations tenfold, because it wasn't even just that we're celebrating, you know? It was the
Hmm.
fact that you were like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna do this, and this is it, you know, like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this is new me, like,
And
you know, like,
I didn't post a lot of photos of my body. And I think I started, like, when I started my journey, I posted
yeah.
like a note or something, which nobody reads on Facebook.
Yeah.
About like, uh, about not wanting it to be focused on that. Like, I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to have conversation. I wanted to be like, I wanted people to know like how I could move and the things that I was doing.
Yeah.
And I didn't want them to focus on the way my body looked, because I really didn't want it to be about that. And I was
Right.
kind of really like tired of seeing so many posts of like, just like, you look great, you look awesome, which is good. It's
Yeah.
good to be complimented. It's lovely. But so much of the time, like, that's the only conversation that's happening. And I think more conversation needs to happen about what our bodies can do for us when they're healthy and they're happy.
Yes.
And again, going back to parenting, I think it's all about talking to our kids about their bodies in healthy ways, and like,
Right.
and focusing on how it helps us do the things we want to do, instead of necessarily how it looks while it's doing that, or anything, you know, of that kind.
Yes.
Yeah.
I completely agree. That I think it's, you know, something that we take for granted all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's, you know, and it's like what you said though, right? It's all about awareness, and some of us are just
Yep.
not aware that it comes hand in hand, right? Like,
Yeah.
everyone celebrates the, you know, the end product of your hard work, and nobody
Mm-hmm.
ever bothers to kind of congratulate you for being able to do
The
the hard work and being able to
Yeah,
continue
like
doing it.
talking about what that hard work is too,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah, again, yeah, just wanting to keep going back to like conversation about that. Specifically for me too, because I was so overweight to a point where so much of my movement was inhibited by my body. So
Yeah.
it was like, I describe it like I was like a newborn again. It was
Wow.
like, yeah, it was really weird. And even like with puberty and like dating, because like I had been with women for most of my life,
Right.
and just around lots of reasons around that, I identify as bisexual. But anyways, I wanted to start dating men after I had started to lose weight, and just like
Right.
felt more comfortable with my body and felt more confident in engaging with men.
Yes.
So uh, even then, oh my God, I've forgotten what I was talking about. That's the worst. Shit. What did
Well,
I
I'm
start
so
with?
embroiled by the bomb you just dropped on me that
What was
you're
I
not.
saying again?
Well, you were saying about dating. We're talking about dating and like how it changed, I guess, like when you started losing weight and then you were only dating women, but
Right.
then
But what was right before that?
it was now I'm like, now
Oh
you're gonna like,
God.
even I'm just gonna like,
You're gonna
what
have to
were
like
we?
go back.
I know we're gonna go
Anyways,
like skirt reverse. We were
I
talking
know.
about
Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry.
we were like the worst combo in the world. Like
I
we have
know,
like
because
the worst
our minds are the
short-term
worst.
memory. Okay, let's walk
Um,
this back.
yeah,
If only this was live and the viewers were here, they would have been able to say
literally.
like,
I
you
know they
guys
would have
are
like
saying
what
this.
you were saying. Oh my God.
Let's
Okay,
backtrack.
sorry.
Okay,
Yeah,
you talked about you being bi. That's all I can think of right now because I'm like, Diana, I
right
never knew
before
that about
that,
you.
you didn't.
I
Oh,
didn't. This is why I'm like shocked. I'm like, wait, what?
oh
Um,
God, what was it right before then?
Something about
Anyways, I
not being
started dating
comfortable.
men. Yeah, I wasn't comfortable with my body. And so I like started dating men, and I wanted to figure that out. But I don't know why it was on that tangent. Um, you know what's
I'm sure
gonna
we'll figure it out.
happen? You're gonna stop, you're gonna edit this, you're gonna go back, watch it, and then I'm gonna do a little video, and I'm gonna come back and explain in you're gonna edit it in to
You know
explain what
what's
it was I was talking about.
unfortunately, I don't do that with my show.
Damn it. Okay.
This is
Well, whatever.
unfiltered. We are just gonna go
It's
through
fine.
this. This is what it is.
I'll do a top comment on the post too.
There you go. How about that? All right. Okay. But anyway, but I do want to. Okay, hold on, because now I'm just kind of like, wait a minute.
Yeah, you want to go back to the bomb that I dropped
because that's so funny because okay,
are we getting a coming out story?
Oh, what do you mean? I'm always like both.
I know, I'm kidding.
But I just can relate to that so much, and not, like, I mean, like, not like I wanted to lose weight or whatever. It wasn't about that, right? But in terms of confidence and self-esteem, for you to feel like you felt like you couldn't go for men because of your weight at the time.
So yeah. Well, I had a lot of trauma with guys, like when I was really young, right? Like being bullied and like having that obsessive personality.
Yeah.
So at a certain point in time in high school, I remember, so there's a guy in like grade 8 that I was obsessed with. And then I think when I went into grade 9, there was like a older a boy that I also liked, but I got really made fun of for it. So after that, I think I just like repressed it all. I was like, no guy's ever going to find me hot. No guy's ever going to want to talk to me. I'm disgusting. I'm fat. Like, they don't ever want to like have a conversation with me. And like, I just like resigned to that storyline. And believed it to protect myself, right? And I always like could talk to women, and I'd had experiences with girls, so it just was like comfort, and I could hide in my bisexuality that way. So
that is
yep. So I just like I mean, I had like experiences when I was in university, a couple of them, but nothing like serious. It was like one night experience, and not like serious, until I was 28. So I mean, if we want to say virginity is a thing, I lost my virginity to men at 28. That's why I was talking about it. So I was talking about feeling like I bloomed or blossomed into my puberty at 28 years old. So, and when I started dating men, that's when I felt like I had fully was able to enter into puberty. So I was having like an adolescent experience at 28 years of age. Yeah, it was so weird.
Coming.
So literally.
So
so I felt like so yeah, I felt like I was a newborn with everything, with all of my experiences with dating people and like actually experiencing dating. Like I felt like I was always a observer of my life and what was happening around me, but I was never actually actively participating in it. And then I lost all this weight, and I could move and I could do things, and I had the confidence in my body to enough to try everything that I had never tried and do like even to the smallest little thing. I remember my partner now, I was dating him at the time, and he had, those like things in your car that you like pull, like you can hang like clothes on, or you like use to like pull on, like on the door.
Yeah.
So I was like scrunched down in the seat, and I grabbed it, and I could pull myself up, and I started crying because I was like, oh my God, did you see that? Like I could pull my body up. Like I could literally, and it didn't break, and I wasn't scared of it like busting or anything like that. So it's like right down to the little tiniest little things. And even now it still happens all the time where I'm like very careful to not take advantage of those little moments where I'm like, oh wow, like I could just like jump. I jumped over a puddle the other day, and I was like, I'm gonna run a little bit and jump. It was a huge puddle, and I was gonna make it, and I was like, I don't know if I can make it, and I made it, and I was like, holy shit, I couldn't have done that. Yeah, literally. And I was like,
That's
and my friend's like,
amazing.
"What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I made it over this fucking tunnel."
Oh
And I was like so happy about it.
my
So yeah,
God.
to answer your question, so happy I fucking remembered because now we don't have
Right.
to go back and everybody will
Yeah,
finally
I'm
understand.
so dead. That's great.
Yeah.
It's like a sec.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness. I'm so happy for you.
Me too. I'm like days are hard. It's COVID, right?
Of
So like
course.
it's
Yes.
fucking hard for everybody right now.
Yes.
Um, but I am very blessed, and 2020 was a horrible year for so many people, and I honestly have a hard time saying that 2020 was one of my best years.
Right.
But it really was for me. And I think even for a lot of us who have struggled through 2020, not to put light on anyone's loss at
Of
all,
course. Of course.
especially if they're still in the midst of that suffering.
Yes.
But I think that a lot of perspective change has happened with 2020 and our evaluation of our values and what's important to us. And I think that that is a gift. No matter how much suffering we're experiencing right now, it is a gift to have that awareness and
Yeah.
to have that intention behind, talking to people now and remembering to reach out to people and make sure everyone's, okay.
Honestly, yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. This is exactly why I started the show.
Yeah.
If people are like, oh my
Yeah.
God, like, are you going to get like professionals on your show? Are you going to get like, like super special doctor guests to be on the show? And it's like, that's nice, but
Yeah.
that's not the point of the show. The point of the show is literally to showcase my friends and talk about their problems and talk about what they went through, because it's true. Because you know what, even
Well,
if
it's
they're not my
real.
friend, that's exactly it. We During COVID times, we don't have anybody to talk to because everybody else is going through their own thing, that
Yeah.
we feel like we can't reach out to other people because we don't
Hmm.
want to burden them with something that that we have to
Yeah,
deal
of
with.
course. Yeah.
And because everyone's kind of mindful that way, everyone's starting to lose their shit.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's
Exactly.
so sad to see. That's why I was like, you know what, I need to do something about this, because
And there's so much you can learn too. And we've even realized that tonight, right? Like we've
exactly.
been friends for how many friggin' years? And I
I
think
know.
you've
And now,
learned like 5 new things on tonight.
yeah, legit. I'm just like, oh my
Yeah.
God, like, wait, what?
Yeah.
But
Literally.
yeah, that is,
Yeah.
that is crazy. But you know what? Next week on the third part of the self-love journey, we are going to talk about something that Diana touched upon tonight that I did not think actually happened to other people other than me.
What's that? Ooh, I'm curious.
You're like, oh, what is this? That's
Well,
why I was
tune
so
in.
surprised when you said it. No, right. Well, tune in if you guys want to hear it. Well, let me give you guys a preview. I actually didn't really like guys until I was 16. I thought guys
Oh, it's earlier than I thought it was going to be.
yeah, I don't know. Like I was young when things happened, but like,
Mhm.
but I've always liked girls a lot more. But not a single girl actually ended up, like, not a single girl I liked actually ended up liking me back, because they thought I was too gay.
Blows my friggin' mind.
No. Like I was a
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah, I'm a fruity kid, so I'm just kind of like, yeah. Like,
I can see that they would think and assume and be rude about that and ignorant.
Yeah. So, but we're young. It is what it is, right? But it has implications, right? It leaves you with a trauma where you start to feel like, especially like growing up and shit's going on in your life and you don't feel that love for yourself. You start to kind of make your own path to where you feel like you can find acceptance and happiness. And that's when I started talking to guys, right? And guys were a lot more receptive to me. And so ever since then, I've always just ended up with guys. But it's one of those things where it's like, especially now, like realizing things like, after what happened last year with everything, honestly, I want to know what it's like. I want to go back to dating. I want to see if I can actually handle dating people again, not just men, but also women, right? And to see if I have any luck. But the problem with that is, I'm super honest. Like, I'm not going to hide. And I feel like it's a problem for men, especially like guys who identify as bisexual, because there's still a lot of stigma about you know,
100%.
I remember
so much for men.
Yeah, like there was this one girl that I talked to, and when she found out I was bi, the very thing she asked me after, and she seemed interested at first until I said it, and then she goes, my only concern was, what if you suck dick better than I do? And I'm like,
you probably do.
I said that. I'm like, I probably do, because it's kind of like, it's like girls will always eat out other girls better than men because you know your body, you know how it functions, you know the spot, you know how it goes.
Yeah,
right. And she couldn't handle that. And for me, it was like, this is how it's gonna be like for me, meeting every single person. That
that's so unfortunate.
It's like a trial. It's a trial run. One of them was like, okay, we'll see where this goes, but I'm gonna be asking you a lot of things, and I'm just kind of like, this is tiring. I can't do this.
See, it blows my mind that you say this to me, and that other men have said this to me, because I love bisexual men. I would date a bisexual man. Like, my boyfriend is super straight, right? But he is very I don't want to be offensive. He's very feminine. He has a very effeminate side to him as well. Okay. And also metrosexual as well. Okay. Like, he's just very interested in things that are not stereotypically straight men things. And so he gets labeled as being metrosexual or gay, even though he doesn't identify that way. So we always joke about that, because I always say I love bisexual men, and so many men have told me that, and it just blows my mind, because I don't get it. I don't understand that, and I'm sorry that you have to deal with that. And I hear a lot from men, especially bisexual men, that they feel that way. Especially when you said that you feel like it's a trial, like people are like, you have to be tested in order to earn their attraction or something.
Okay, it's been 3 days. Have you sucked dick yet? It's kind of like, shut the fuck up, like, I don't need this shit. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. No,
but you know what?
It's dumb.
It is. We'll talk about this on another episode. I need you on that one, because you know what?
I'll come on.
Literally knowing now that you're actually bi too, like, this is amazing. This is perfect. Like,
we should start a podcast.
I mean, fuck, you know what? I'm trying to do like a panel, like, I want actually like regular panelists with me, to be doing these. Yeah, this will be great. This is amazing. This is hilarious. But okay, we are kind of running out of time, so I want to get back to you before we go.
We digress. Yes.
Yeah, but it was great. It's all within self-love anyway. So, exactly. I'm glad we were able to share this, right? But we will delve deeper into this next time. But before we go, I do want to ask.
Yeah.
Because I know this is going to be like a lifelong process. It's going to be, your life now, where you have to really keep on working at it, right? To maintain, right?
Yeah.
Do you have kind of like, I don't want to say a strategy, but do you have a plan for yourself if things somehow don't go your way, where you can retain your sense of self-love that you have for yourself now?
Yeah. So this is such a great question, actually, to end with, because it's what I've been struggling with lately, with COVID and with the winter, and I have seasonal depression. And so I kind of like go into like hermit mode around winter. I have gained some weight, and I had only lost up until that point. Okay. And so, and I never really looked at my body and criticized it a lot before, touched it in the mirror and said hateful things to myself. I never did that. But I find myself kind of doing that more lately. I'm very almost obsessed with trying to make sure that I am on track. And I think that can be really unhealthy. So, twofold. Because I've started to gain weight, I try to have this mentality of 80-20, the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time you're making the healthy choice, and 20% of the time you make an indulgent choice. Right. So I always try to stick to that, and just remind myself that, making an indulgent choice even 30% of the time is better than making no healthy choices at all. So and it's like I just try to love myself and be lenient with myself and not say horrible things to myself, and just try to continue doing that, even if I'm gaining weight, etc. And to know that, like, I did it once before, I can do it again. And it's much easier to lose 5 pounds than it is 270.
I was gonna say, like, that is actually the mentality that's like, when people ask, you know, like, how, like, people say I yo-yo, and I do yo-yo, right? Like, sometimes I'm gonna die, sometimes I'm not. And they're like, you make it look so easy. And it's like, yeah, because I have that mentality of, I've reached that goal before, you know, like,
exactly.
I can do it again. Right?
We can do it. And it's not the end of the world that you don't, right? Yes, like, people put such a emphasis on like gaining weight, and like that makes you horrible and you've failed and like all of that. And it's like, no, like, you have so many successes, and that isn't a fail. It's just an opportunity to get back into it and try again to make a better choice the next time.
You know what? That is amazing. And I'm glad you said it like that. That's like the perfect way to end the show. It shows your growth. It shows how much self-love you have for yourself, because a lot of people can look at the same situation and interpret it so much more differently than you just did. And I feel like that is, you know, the biggest difference between all of us. It's, you know what they say, like, we're not all on the same boat, but we're all in the same ocean, right? Let's say it. Let's put it that way, right? And it's like, we have the choice on what kind of boat we get to be on. So why the fuck would we go bring a raft onto an ocean where we can sit in a really nice luxury ship liner?
Exactly. And the way you do that is with hard work, and you can get there eventually. And a good support system, obviously, having good friends to have good conversation with and to lean on to talk to you about those things. So.
Amazing. Honestly, thank you so much, Dee. Like, this is fun for me because of all the things I found out. And you know what? The funniest thing, guys, is like, you know, like me, like Dee and I, we talk every now and then, but it's not like this. We haven't actually had the time to catch up because we've always planned to catch up in person so that we can talk about things, never chatting. So literally after 12 years,
I think we're gonna like make this a thing.
I think, you know what, finally. And this is why I sound so excited. Honestly, no offense to all my other guests. I'm so excited to have you guys here too. Just don't mistake my enthusiasm with Diana. It's just that she's my favorite guest. It's just the fact that honestly, I have not caught up.
Everybody's been amazing.
But I have not caught up with Dee in so long. This is the first time, and I'm loving it. But honestly, thank you so much, Dee, for doing this.
No problem.
Thank you for sharing your story. Like, I am going to have a hard time editing a trailer for this because I don't know. There's so many good clips where I'm like, oh my gosh, talked about this. So we'll see.
Literally, you use the one where I'm like, wait, what was they talking about?
Honestly, I'm so tempted to be like, what were we talking about? Like, come watch it. No, but like, people are, I don't have to watch that. But seriously. All right, we are out of time.
Well, thank you for having me.
Anytime, like what I said, you know what? Join me on my panel for the sexuality stuff, because that's gonna be a fucking
100%. I got lots to talk about.
Right? Me too. You know, like being 32 years old and a virgin is never fun. So that is something that I am.
I'm so surprised that we can relate to that, because I did. Okay, like, let's just be, so before we leave, let's just be real. You are handsome, and you have always been handsome. And it blows my mind. No, I'm going to go on about it my whole life, but I would have never thought. And that's the problem, that people have this idea that the way you look equates to all of that sexuality stuff. So we'll talk about that some other time.
Thank you. You always know how to cheer me up. God damn it. Even after 12 years. I hate you and love you at the same time.
That's most people tell me that.
Right? All right, guys. This has been Breaking Down the Breakdown. Remember, always be compassionate. You don't know what the next person is going through. So if you feel like biting their heads off, let's not. Instead, just ask what is going on today, and let's just give out a friendly hug or a handshake or exactly listen to them. It is
elbow bump.
Yep, there you go. That's what it is. All right. Good night, guys, or good morning, wherever you are. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye,
Bye.
guys.